Hi everyone. Gotta keep it down. The folks are sleeping upstairs. I just got back from Interstellar. Did you see? I dig your bell. I got back from Interstellar about I don't know 2 hours ago, maybe. If I'm no, not even 2 hours ago. Maybe like an hour and a half ago. So the new Christopher Nolan film got Matthew McConaughey, Michael Caine, and Hathaway's in there. Jessica Chastain. Basically, general plot is Earth's dying and they gotta go try to find a new world to live on. That was it. But this has been getting a lot of positive word and buzz, and but some mixed baggage too. And I'd be lying to say I didn't know where it was coming from. Now, I overall really enjoyed this movie, but I would not be lying if I said I didn't notice some problems and had some complaints about it. Um, right out of the way, get go. Everyone in this movie is fantastic, just fantastic. Matthew McConaughey is giving a great performance. The chemistry between him and if you give me 1 second, between him and Mackenzie Foy, who basically replaced the young version of his daughter. Um, really, the chemistry between the different versions of his daughter and him are just great altogether. Particularly because even when he's my cat is missing from a box right now. Even when he's not in the same, sharing the same screen with her. He's like, there you go. She's batting around some paper. Um, and when they're not sharing the screen together, they still have a really good bond that you sense, even though she's still very angry at him for leaving. Um, Michael Caine is Michael Caine. Uh, even at his worst, he's still great. That being said, the character I'll go basically. I'll do this as I sometimes have good positives and negatives. So right now we'll just stick to the positives. Um, generally all the performers are good. Anne Hathaway's great. Everyone's fantastic basically. John Lithgow was in the movie. I didn't know that. Topher Grace was in the movie. I didn't know that at all. Uh, I'm just like, because John Lithgow, I'm like, oh, okay, he's playing Matthew McConaughey's father-in-law. Okay. And then, like, midway through the movie, I'm like, Topher Grace? You're like the doctor friend of the Jessica Chastain Murphy character? What? um, so, yeah, no, the performers are all great. The story is not necessarily original, but it's a fresh take on the story. You know, Earth is dying, interstellar child going to find new worlds, and once we get off the Earth, the scope of this film is amazing. What Nolan basically did, capturing the actual vastness of vastness of space, is just because there's scenes where, let's say, my finger is the ship and the screen you're seeing is the entirety of space. You just see this moving and like moving right next to Saturn. The scale is immense. It is so impressive and beautifully shot, stunning visuals. Some of the cinematography in this is just gorgeous. It's different than some of his other movies. Nolan is generally he's done some what would be there wow. I just heard the terminology. I was just actually watching another kind of review for this a little while ago. Um, ambitious. There we go. That was the word I was looking for. He's not like Inception. That was ambitious, and that's got a lot of visual effects, and that's very stunning from what I understand. I still have never actually truly watched Inception myself, but the Dark Knight series has got some good visuals. Memento, from what I understand, has got some decent visuals. But in terms of just visually, this is probably his best film visually. Not once am I looking at any effect and thinking, "Oh, that's an effect." No, I'm thinking like, "Wow, that's how that worked." Wow, that's believable. The worlds they visit are interesting. One you see a lot of them, and this is spoilers. I'm going into spoilers, obviously. Um, you get that like an ice planet where like the clouds look like clouds, but they're like frozen. It's like they froze, basically looking like clouds. It's fascinating. And then there's like one world where it's a water world, but it's like here's the person. There's that thick of water on the ground. They're up to maybe their ankles in water, and yet there's waves the size of Mount Everest coming down upon you. So I'm like, so that explains why the water is level so low. All the water swept up in waves. Um, they it's very reminiscent, very um, nodding to Kubrick in 2001: Space Odyssey, especially the overall experience of the film. Particularly when we get to the end. When we get to the end, my God, is this very reminiscent of 2001: Space Odyssey, which I'm gonna do positives and good negatives, and I'll give my take on my thought on the ending, because that I'm not sure how to place that right now, because while I like it, I could see where there's problems. But no, his movie is very, very reminiscent of 2001: Space Odyssey, complete with its own monolith. Except this one talks and transforms into different shapes. It's Hal of Hal became the monolith in 2001: Space Odyssey. Except he's cracking jokes and stuff like that, which is fine. There's like two of them. They're basically like old military drones, but they have AI and all that, and he actually survives too at the end too, which I'm like, I was digging that character a little bit. I mean, he was no Hal, he was no Baymax, he was no C. Well, I would say maybe better than C-3PO. C-3PO gets annoying as much as especially I'm a diehard Star Wars fan. C-3PO grades on you a little bit. But no, he's still fine. He's a cool little character. He's a cool character. Um, uh, visuals are great. The scientific explanation. This movie is entirely great. I mean, it's very high level theories and relativity, like the theory of relativity that 1 hour on this planet is going to equal 7 years back on Earth. The wormhole concept, the black hole. What happens if you were to somehow enter a black hole? If you were able to actually enter a black hole, the visual effect of what would it possibly be like being inside a black hole. Um, all these just quantum theories and physics. It's never. I don't think they're ever trying to sound smarter than the audience when they're explaining this. There's always very much layman's terms or layman explanations for the science that's going on in this movie. I mean, I understood what was going on. I'm no quantum physicist. I'm no mathematical genius. But from the explanations they gave, I understood what was going on. The theories that were being expressed, the issues that were being presented, the whole time situation. That's like the two big issues: gravity and time. Is basically the explanation and key to human race surviving past Earth. Um, what else can I really say? Among my positive, I mean, I could like nitpick. I could like really try to dig deep in my positives, but those are the vast majority of the positives. Going into the negatives, some of the characters. No, again, I should say this right now. All the acting was fantastic, really all over the board. But some of the characters have revelations that I didn't agree with, or make choices that I didn't agree with. Michael Caine's character is the guy who basically hires fucking Matthew McConaughey, Cooper, as his character's name's called, to basically go into space and basically, save the world. There's a plan A and there's a plan B. A is to bring people out there. If that doesn't work, we'll just repopulate with like eggs, clones basically, which is weird. How is that supposed to work? Because that's something some of the science didn't make sense to me in the regard. For instance, Plan B is basically they got fertilized eggs and they'll grow them, and they'll repopulate the world that way, and it's all taken care of for diversity and stuff like that. So there's no like inbreeding or something like that. But how you you don't have an incubator, I don't think. And that being said, it's literally a test tube baby. I don't think we know how to grow people in tubes yet, folks. I don't think we can do that. You can't make the argument that we're in the future so we can do that. No, because we're in the future and Earth is dying. And we're all dying. But Michael Caine's got that there. But then he was revealed after the time he's dying. I think they show he has a stroke. because he's goddamn hijacked. So I'm assuming he has suffered from a stroke. And it reveals that he lied, that Plan A wouldn't work anyway the whole time, and he knew about this. I'm like, I don't agree with that whatsoever. Why did you make him do? Because he says he lied. He flat out says he lied, and he basically made Matthew McConaughey go up there, knowing he had kids, knowing that he would be letting the Earth die. I'm like, what kind of fucking bastard would? Why would you do that? There are other people who could have been fucking. I don't care who you are. There are other people who probably could have manned that fucking spacecraft. You basically split a family up and you fucking destroyed their lives until Matthew McConaughey meets his daughter again in the end. Then that's another thing about the whole. First of all, I think they spent too much time on Earth. If they had shown us more of the Earth and not just, I want to say this is one of the Midwest states, either Kansas or like Minnesota or something. It's one of those states because apparently the only food that can now be that survived is corn. That's the only food that survived. What? Are you telling me that every animal on Earth is dead besides human beings? Because they don't explain necessarily. That's one thing. Of all the explanations they gave that are fine, one of the explanations they don't do well is explaining why Earth is dying. They briefly go over, say something called blight, which I think is, I guess, like a new disease that is apparently it feeds on nitrogen and is eating up the ozone, and then the oxygen grows and there's less oxygen. Eventually, people are going to either suffocate or starve. What? Did it kill off every fucking life on Earth besides human beings and plants? I don't. You can't say there's no food in there. We don't even see anything beyond this small town, and NASA, which is apparently located in this small town. What? That's convenient. What? If they had shown us more of the world and showed like there are no animal, because that's the thing that bothers you. Can't say there's no food in there. There cannot be no animal life left on Earth at all besides humans. I fucking don't believe that. That being said, I mean, there's dust storms, crops are burning half the time. There's like disease and stuff like that. So it's still not, even with animals to eat, it still would not be a perfect world in any shape or form. But because of that, they just linger too much on before going into space, and then they just cut to him going into space, and he leaves his family abruptly. I mean, it's a scene you see in the trailer where he's just talking to his daughter and just like, "I'm gonna come back." It's like, but you don't even know you're gonna get back. And then the next scene plays out more, and he basically he leaves, and she's mad at him for years. um, but and then the Anne Hathaway character grew on me after she makes a fucking mistake. But she makes one mistake. The one thing I didn't, I can't say I didn't like him because again, no acting was bad in this movie. I gotta always just make mention of that. But there's three possible habitable planets they say, and two of them are like orbiting a black hole close to it. So they go to one that's the wave planet. They go to one that's the ice planet. And when they get to the ice planet, they go to the doctor who's basically set this all up, and the doctor's revealed to be Matt Damon. And Matt Damon has been on the IMDb page, and I have the IMDb page up, and yeah, he's there. But his character, now it's there, apparently was not introduced, and they were keeping it secret, which is like, what? So what is? He clearly has some sort of semi-important role in the movie, and he says this world's habitable. He takes Matthew McConaughey out. I'm like, you're gonna fucking try to kill him. You're gonna betray him because Matthew McConaughey says I'm gonna leave. So the world. It turns out the world's not habitable. He faked information on that, and he tries to kill him basically just so he can go home or something like that. I don't know exactly the exact reason. Because he's a fucking coward. He was stranded there, and basically the isolation got to him, and the hopelessness got to him. He basically drove him. kind of crazy, and then he gets blown out of airlock. Actually, I take that back. He gets blown out of decompressed airlock, which essentially just explodes. So I'm like, okay, that was pretty nice. That part actually legitly made me jump. I not gonna because it's just so sudden, and that's some of the action pieces in this when they're actual action pieces are really intense. They because that literally that scene he's trying to like orbit their like the main like engine ship, the ship that's giving him all their like gravity thrusters basically. It's basically a circular trim. Oh, wow, my God, I'm gonna flub up this word. Centrifugal. Wow, centrifugal force or something like that. It's a centrifuge. It rotates to basically cause gravitational pull. Basically, you have gravity in there, and basically he tries to dock in it. It does not work, so he tries to open the doorways improperly docked, and basically he's just like they're trying to explain to him not to do it, and he just starts going like, no, I don't want you to answer. There comes a moment, and then boom, just gone. Just what the? I was like, whoa, because it's just so silent, and you're like, fuck, I didn't see that coming, and then that segues into a great piece where they have to dock the ship because now the ship is now that like there was a giant decompressive explosion. The ship is now because it's circular. It's now rotating at a constant speed. So now they have to like try to lock in and meet the speed of the ship, and they do. Um, so that was good, but I don't think I didn't like the character because of what happened to him. Now I can understand why it happened to him. I can understand the whole isolation and loneliness and hopelessness just fucking got to you. It just got to you. I can completely understand that. Absolutely. But that's another problem I had. Most of the parts basically all the parts in space were completely fine. I'm gonna moving on to the ending, I suppose. This is where I think I will like the ending, but what happens is that to basically save them to get to the third planet because they don't have enough fuel to get back to Earth or anything like that. To get back to the third planet, or get to the third planet. Basically, there was 3 habitable planets. They visited 2. I almost gave you the middle finger there, folks. Sorry. Visited 2, so they had 1 more left. That was the so they're basically planning to get there. All the while launching I can't remember the robot's name, so I'm just going to call him Hal, Monolith Hal. I guess we'll call him Hal. We'll call him Wisecrack, whatever. The launched robot, who's basically he's an AI and he's a probe in his own right. So he launches him into the black hole. They explain how he's not crushed to death. To basically monitor the inside of the black hole to basically send back the information to Earth so they can basically perfect warp travel or interstellar travel. And so basically, Mackay saves her, Anne Hathaway sends her to the planet, and he goes into the black hole as well. And I'm like, okay, and this is where it gets 2001. This goes 2001 Space Odyssey big time. He gets in there, and the plane, basically his ship is basically getting ripped apart in relatively beautiful effects. Which I'll stop right now. You can see this on like IMAX, XD, whatever. You can see it on the like that with subwoofers and all that. Go see this movie and like that. Oh man. Moving back into the subject. Um, he he basically ejects out of his fucking ship, and we see him just floating there. And I'm like, okay, it's like what's gonna happen? And then it's like Matrix almost. The way because one of the things they explain is there's these beings who created the wormhole to help save humanity. These fifth dimensional beings. And throughout the movie, young Murph is talking about ghosts in a room that are like knocking your books down, like leaving your messages and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, maybe they're aliens, possibly. No, because what happens is that he goes in, and we immediately see he's like, where is he? And it's like, best way I think they explained it kind of is that these fifth dimensional beings put their thoughts into a third dimensional state so we can understand their fifth dimension. So time is literally now solidified into different quadrants of dimensions and rooms and stuff like that. And Matthew McConaughey can't technically speak or interact with them beyond hitting the wall and moving things. So what he does after he's because after a while I'm sitting there, I'm like, he can't, his daughter can't hear him. Can't really interact with her besides tossing the books down. It turns in the long run, it turns like he makes a good point. There's a good oh, it's a callback, but it's a good callback that his late wife basically referred to parents. Once you have kids, you're no longer. We're ghosts. We're memories. We're ghosts. We are reminders of your future, or something like that. And so the ghost she's been having turns out to be her father the whole time in that fifth dimensional prison because he can't enter. Well, that was a weird phrase. Anyway, because he can't interact with her, so he basically has to see his daughter, and he can't talk to her, and he's just bawling. I'm like, wow, you're in fucking hell right now. I'm like, Christ almighty. But then he finds a way to interact her, gives her to, somehow is able to put into binary, into a watch, the equations and mathematical statistics for warp traveling. I'm calling it warp. That's not the term I used, but through basically all this time. And then it's revealed that it's like they're fifth dimensional. They're not fifth dimensional beings. They're us. They're us from a future where we learned how to do this. And one day we'll learn how to do it too. Couldn't it just been aliens? Because with all the emotional power in this movie, and it's very emotional, it's very emotionally strong. With all the belief in the human spirit, you're saying that we will come to our aid in the end, and everything will basically be okay because we willed it. In the most contrived manner that does not work to the message of the movie overall. Uh, yeah, up until that point, I'm like, wow, because then the place collapses and it's like a hedron or something like that. It's kind of contrived. It's kind of convoluted. It's not. I like the overall concept. I do. The theories and thoughts, thought-provoking ideas are very well put together. It's very interesting, fascinating stuff. But that's and then basically what happens at the end is that he's basically found in space. Wakes up in a hospital bed. He's 124 years old at this point because the whole relativity thing. And he's now at like this station that's like it's basically like the waiting station. It's like they got green fields, stuff like that. It's like a giant cone. I assume there's a gravity is working properly because okay, circle, people playing ball down there, and there's a house right up there where they hit the ball into the window. I assume gravity works okay in there because you can just walk up there, stand on your head, basically stand on the ceiling and be okay. I assume that's how it works. And then basically he's trying to deal with that information, and the robot's still alive. He's able to save the robot. And then he meets his daughter again finally, and I still promise Candace she's an old woman. And that was another thing. It's like you didn't see her father. You were, I think, 10, and you didn't see her father. I'm going to assume she's like 85. Let's go. I'm even going to go on the 90 scale. Okay, wait, no, he's like 42. I want to say. So I'm guessing he's 42. And yeah, I'm just gonna go and say he's 40. Let's just say he's 40. He's 124 years old by the time he gets done there. That means he's been gone for 84 years. That would put her at around, I want to say, 94, give or take. You haven't seen him for 84 years. You're pissed off with him, even though you come to the realization he was there the whole time to saving you. And she does, and she kind of reconciles with him in that way. But you haven't seen him for 84 years. He says that he sits down there and he's trying to reconcile. It's like, I have my own family. Go save the Anne Hathaway character. It's like 84 fucking years. You're pissed off at your dad. You know, you understand why he did it. You haven't seen him for 84 goddamn years. And now you're just like, okay, you came back, you kept your promise. Go on. No! No! That is not how someone would react. I would think you'd want to spend time with him still. At least catch up. Do something. I mean, she looks like she was not very long for this world, but still, I'm sorry. That bothers me. If I were gone, if someone I knew, someone I loved, was gone for 84 goddamn years, and I'm 25 now, so that means I would be, if I'm somehow still alive at that age, I would be a grand total of 109. And they come back, and I haven't seen them forever. I would want to spend at least some time with them, catch up, and then now go live what's left. Now go live your life, yeah, I've had a good life. Now go live yours. After catching up with them for a couple of hours, maybe days, that didn't work. And then he goes off to say the Anne Hathaway character because again, time is relative. And you know what? Because of that, I'm going to touch on one other thing after I finish this up. Time is relative. So all the time's passed there. Anne Hathaway's still only been on that planet for maybe a couple days, hours maybe. So yeah. So he's not just going. He's going out in his little TIE fighter, at his A-wing, to go out and save him with his R2-D2. Because that felt actually very Starfighter, Star Wars-esque, that very end scene, where he just gets in the little one-man fighter jet and he just goes to save him with his R2 unit. I think his name is Track or something like that. But yeah, before I get into the trailers and give my overall opinion and rating, the theory of relativity, yeah, you'll age slower or time's different for you than it is on Earth. So yeah, he's technically 124, but he still looks the same way he did. Because technically, for him, only a couple days had passed because of the whole hypersleep thing they do, sleeping on like months on end and years. But unfortunately, I believe, if I'm getting this right, the whole relatively time paradox thing, all that, you would start to rapidly age afterwards. After you come out of these sort of anomalies, you would start to rapidly age. Because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, astronauts have had that kind of experience. Now, it hasn't been, I come back, I'm 24, I'm 44 the next day kind of thing, or anything like that. But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, astronauts have come back feeling, aging slightly quicker, because their body essentially is catching up with the whole the whole motion of the planet. So, yeah, 84 years? And again, I don't know. They never said how old Matthew McConaughey actually was. I would assume he was like 84. Because he also got a son who's like, I want to say 15. Yeah, I say he's 15. So, yeah, and so, I mean, he could be in his late 30s, but I would put him more probably in his 40 to early 40s. So, yeah, that's whatever. So, I'll give my overall opinion rating in just a minute. I got 4 new trailers. One I technically watched online, but might as well talk about now. Furious 7, the Fast and Furious 7. Generally thoughts, it looks fine. It looks fun. Jason Statham's the bad guy, so why not? Paul Walker, God bless him. He was a good performer. These guys were, I know the crew were like family, and his presence is felt in there, but not to the point where it's like beating us over the head. It's like, oh, he died, oh, he's dead, feels it bad. No, it's not that bad. It felt very natural. It didn't feel any forced. So it looks alright. Next one I got was American Sniper with Bradley Cooper. I know this trailer came out a while ago. I have never watched it up until this point. Apparently it's telling the tale, I don't know the man's name, but basically detailing the most deadly sniper in U.S. history, and I guess that's Bradley Cooper, and it's showing him basically having to make the decision whether to shoot a kid who's possibly holding a grenade and heading towards a fucking convoy. And I'm like, okay, that's intense. And Bradley Cooper is a fucking good actor. I think he's been nominated at this point. I don't think he's won anything, but he's a Academy Award caliber actor. Maybe not. I wouldn't necessarily go Oscar, but he's definitely Academy Award caliber. So it looks interesting. I wouldn't say it's necessarily at my road, but if it's out there and I got nothing else to review that week, or I got at least 2 movies I need to get done, and I already get one of them done, probably will catch that. Next one was Selma. If I'm remembering this correctly, the Selma protests in Selma, basically the protests in Selma, Louisiana or Georgia. I can't remember exactly which. It's basically telling you the story of Martin Luther King and the struggles he had to go through in that period with all of that. Let's get Tim Roth in there. I can't remember who's playing Dr. King. I think, pretty sure I saw Cuba Gooding Jr. in there, and it looks that's Oscar baiting performances right there. That is an Oscar baiting performance. Then again, you could say Mandela was too, but Idris Elba didn't get nominated or anything like that. But yeah, I'm sure it looks good. It does. Then again, a lot of the movies I see look good, and then some of them turn out not to be good. That being said, this year has not been a bad year for movies, really. You notice I haven't been seeing lately a lot of movies that sucked. Last movie I think I saw that sucked was maybe Brick Mansion or Ninja Turtles wasn't all that good. I gave it a 5. Hindsight, I probably would have given it more like a 4. But last one I got was The Gambler. Or last one, actually, it is Weed because I did see this with a friend. But last one we got was The Gambler with Mark Wahlberg. It's got John Goodman in there. Mark Wahlberg plays a teacher who has a gambling problem, and he gets in debt with the wrong people. It looks like an interesting sit through, especially with John Goodman and Mark Wahlberg playing off each other. John Goodman looks like he's going to be pretty. Well, he's going to start going intense, but it definitely looks like he's playing that serious kind of loan shark mobster kind of guy. I don't know exactly what he is. I don't think he's probably the mob. I think he's probably something else. Mark Wahlberg's lost some weight. He's definitely looks a little gaunt, but not in a bad way. It looks like he doesn't look unhealthy. He just looks like he's lost a lot of weight, especially from Transformers 4, where he was pretty jacked. But hey, I mean, actually, you know what? It reminds me of how he looked in Boogie Nights. He's kind of got that level of thing going on, where he's not sickly looking, but you can see the thinning of his body and face. But so yeah, that's what I got. Most of those looked pretty good. So my final thoughts. I did really enjoy this movie. It was a visually stunning experience. The ideas are thought-provoking. The performances are fantastic. That being said, I expressed I had some issues with this movie. I mean, it's not, and I should also say, it's not Christopher Nolan's best movie either. It's not his worst. Um, I can't even think what his worst might be, because Christopher Nolan, if you've ever watched any of his movies, you realize he's never turned. I mean, people will make the argument for Dark Knight Rises, and I know not everyone liked Dark Knight Rises. I particularly really enjoyed it, quite as much as the Dark Knight, but almost as much. Um, but a lot of people say that's his weakest film. That being said, if that's his weakest film, how are you going to basically stop this man from just pulling greatness out of his ass? And this is a great movie in some aspects, problems in others. But what are you gonna do? I'm gonna give it an 8. I am. It would 7. I'll cheat a little and say between 7.5 and 8. I can't necessarily go one full way or the other right now. If I were to sleep on it, I'd probably have a better idea. So for right now, I'm going to say it's between 7.5 and 8. If I were to lean, I'd go towards the 7.5. Because some of those problems were an issue for me. I mean, not while I was watching it, but when I came out of there and actually thought about them. And that was the thing. I thought about a few of these, like the corn thing I thought about in the movie. And the whole Michael Caine thing and Matt Damon thing I thought about in the movie. But other things like the whole ending scenario and stuff like that, I'm like, and then her basically just saying go at the end. I'm like, that I didn't really think on until after I got out of the movie and started thinking on it a little bit. So You know what? I'm gonna lean towards. I'm gonna give it a 7.5 because those problems did stand out to me. This is not a perfect film, but it's an experience that I think everyone. I should also comment. It's 3 hours long, but at no point did I think, "Oh my god, I just wanted this to end." No, I'm like, most of the time, I'm thinking, "How the fuck are they gonna get out of this situation?" This movie makes you or actually question how the fuck are they gonna get out of this situation. And for a while, I'm like, is he? He's dead. He's fucking dead. How are you still alive? What the fuck? Seriously, man. So yeah, 7.5. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. This one went on a little longer than I wanted to. So yeah, it's a long one. Yeah, like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, if you want us to review something, put it in the comments below. Let us know, or contact me, Mark, or Sam on Facebook. We're not that hard to find. So next week I don't know what comes out. Crap, what comes out? Oh, I think now I remember what comes out. Dumb and Dumber 2 comes out next week. You know, I've been seeing mostly good movies this week or this year. I think that streak's about to come to an end with that movie. I don't know what else comes out next week, but that's probably the one I'm going to be at next week is Dumb and Number 2. So, yeah, thanks for watching. I will see you for the next one. It's late. I've got to go to bed or at least do something.